Step 5. Exporting IFC model to Revit Structures and importing the modified Revit model back to ArchiCAD. In this step, we will export the structural model of our ArchiCAD design project to Revit Structure using the IFC Open Standard format. We will also import the modified model back to ArchiCAD. Let's see a quick example on how to export the structural elements of this office building project in IFC format. Let's open the 3D view to get an overview of the size and design complexity of this office building project. Activate the next 8.5.1 IFC 3D model to display the whole project model in the 3D window. We need the bare structural model this time, so let's hide the unnecessary building parts. Use the Document, Layers, Structural menu command to switch to the structural layer combination. This combination hides all architectural-related layers in the project. Now only the structural elements are shown, but there are still unnecessary parts visible, such as windows, doors, and wall and floor finish layers. Activate the View, Elements in 3D View, Filter Elements in 3D menu command. Uncheck the window and door types. Then click OK. Curtain walls have dedicated layers, but windows and doors don't have their own layer in ArchiCAD, so we can't hide them as a layer. This Filter Elements in 3D dialog allows you to hide element types which are not required in 3D. Activate the Document, Partial Structure Display menu command. In the dialog, select the Core of Load-Bearing Elements Only radio button and click OK. This function allows you to show just the structural elements with one click instead of filtering all the complex and composite structures out of the entire model one by one. Activate the next Standard Steel Profiles preset view. This preset view shows the 3D model from another point of view with the same previously set options. When exchanging data with a structural BIM application, it's possible to use standard steel profiles in ArchiCAD. This makes the IFC data exchange more accurate and reliable, since many of these structural applications can recognize these standard profiles. Let us now import such a profile and modify some beams to use it. Activate the Options, Import Standard Steel Profile menu command. Keep Eurocode in the country code field. Keep Rolled Steel in the profile type field. And keep IH Shape in the geometry field. In the list of available profiles, find and select the IPE 200 profile. Then, click the Add Profile to the Project button. The selected profile appears on the list on the right of the dialog. Click the Import button to proceed. The profile is now part of the project as a custom profile. We will now apply this profile to the beams. Select the 5 horizontal beams in the middle of the project and click the Settings dialog button in the info box to open the Beam Selection Settings dialog. Open the Floor Plan and Section panel of the dialog and click to select the structure group in the list. Select the imported IPE 200 profile for the Complex Structure field. Open the Geometry and Positioning panel of the dialog. Modify the height of the beams from 15625 to Project 0 to 15525 to Project 0. Finally, click OK to accept changes. Hover the mouse over any of the selected beams and note that the info tag displays the updated information of the steel beams. Now we will proceed and export the project as an IFC file. Activate the next IFC Structural Floor Plan preset view to return to the floor plan. We can save an IFC file from the 3D or from the floor plan. Make sure that no elements are selected in the project. Activate the file, Save As, Menu command. Select the IFC 2x3 file option from the File Format drop-down list at the bottom of the dialog. Make sure the Visible Elements on All Stories option is selected in the Export field. Click the Model Filter button to display the Model Filter dialog. All elements to be exported are listed in a hierarchical tree structure. In the Group Element List By field, you can select what data the hierarchy should be based on. IFC element type is the default, which we will use now. The Model Filter dialog lets you further filter which specific elements to export. Any element type or group may be unchecked, in which case it will not be exported into the resulting IFC file. Expand the Filter Elements panel of the dialog. Click the Options button below the By IFC domain list. This dialog lists all the various IFC element types that can be exported. These include element types belonging to the various disciplines of the building industry. Use the Structural option from the IFC domain list at the top. Then scroll through the list. As you can see, many IFC element types are now unchecked. Most of these belong to HVAC or MEP disciplines, so they should not be exported when saving an IFC file for the structural engineer. Click Cancel twice to return to the Save As dialog. Click the Settings button to the right of the Translator field. The IFC translators define how elements are converted in the collaboration processes. There are default translators available to exchange design information with the most commonly used engineering and analysis applications. Select the Data Exchange with Revit Structure translator in the list, then expand the Description panel. This area contains a short description about the selected translator to help your work. Expand the Model Element Filter panel. In this panel, you have the same model filtering options as in the Model Filter dialog we looked at earlier. You can set model filtering settings if you want to use them every time you exchange IFC data with a certain application. The IFC domain field is set to Custom for this translator. Click the Options button on the Model Element Filter panel. Here you can see what IFC element types are set to be exchanged with the translator. For example, the IFC Grid IFC element type does not belong to the structural IFC domain. However, we will export grids to Revit Structure as part of this IFC exchange. Click Cancel to leave this dialog. Expand the Export Options panel of the dialog. Here you can set various options to be used during IFC export. The Elements to Export fields set which elements to generate in the IFC file based on their stories and visibility. The IFC Model Units button opens a dialog where you can set length, angle, area, and volume units to be used in the resulting IFC file. So you might want to have separate IFC translators for IFC exchange with consultants working in metric and imperial applications. There are some other options as well for controlling how IFC sites will be created, how certain complex ArchiCAD element types, complex walls, chained beams, slabs with slanted edges, are to be translated, as well as options for generating space, area, and volume IFC data. We will leave all the settings as they are. We'll be using the default Revit Structure translator for now. Click the Save Settings and Close button to leave the dialog. Our translator of choice is now selected in the Translator field. Enter COL080501 structural model for the file name. Browse to the Chapter 8 folder and click Save to proceed. ArchiCAD will start the IFC database export and will process all project elements according to the previously defined configuration. The export process may take a few minutes depending on the speed of your computer. The exported IFC database contains enriched 3D information about the ArchiCAD design project, which is necessary for the structural calculations and design. Let's see how we can open this file in Revit Structure. Select and import the COL080501 structural model in Revit Structure, or open it with any IFC viewer application. If you don't have these, just follow along with the steps in the movie. Please note that there are also many IFC viewers on the market that can be downloaded and used free of charge. As you can see, the imported ArchiCAD elements have been converted to intelligent Revit elements. Starting with ArchiCAD 14, GRAPHISOFT provides a Revit Structure add-in. The purpose of this add-in is to improve the quality of IFC data after it's been imported or exported by Revit Structure. GRAPHISOFT provides this add-in free of charge. It can be downloaded from the Interoperability Downloads page of graphisoft.com. When the add-in is installed, you will see the Improve IFC Exchange button appear in the add-in menu of the ribbon in Revit Structure. After opening an IFC file coming from ArchiCAD in Revit Structure, the next immediate step is to click the Improve IFC Exchange button in Revit Structure. The add-in will improve the conversion of IFC elements to Revit family types. Revit Structure will correctly recognize the IFC elements. One such improvement is the correct conversion of grid elements so they'll be converted to Revit grids properly. After the improvement process is finished, a message appears that informs you of what kind of improvements have been made to the IFC data. Let's suppose the structural engineer has modified our model in Revit Structure. For example, he's changed the wall and slab thicknesses, column sizes, and so on. Let's open the model in ArchiCAD. Activate the File, Open Menu command. Select the IFC file type. In the Translator field, select the Data Exchange with Revit Structure option. Select the COL080502 Revit Structural Model IFC file in the Chapter 8 folder. Please don't forget to check the Launch a New Instance of ArchiCAD checkbox in the Open File dialog. Finally, click Open to open the IFC file in a new ArchiCAD instance. ArchiCAD has successfully reopened the IFC building database, which was saved in Revit Structure, and is ready to continue the work. Right-click and select Show All in 3D from the context menu to see the 3D model. As you can see, the IFC model has been converted perfectly and opened in ArchiCAD after the Revit Structure environment. You can compare the imported model with the original one. The structural engineer has changed the size of almost all of the concrete columns on the basement level. To save time, we'll use these 3D columns instead of modifying them in the original model. ArchiCAD allows a round-trip conversion. Using this, we'll replace the original ArchiCAD elements with the modified IFC elements. Switch to the original ArchiCAD project. Close the 3D window to return to the floor plan. Activate the File, File Special, Merge Menu command. Select the IFC file type in the drop-down list of the Merge dialog. Then, click the Settings button to the right of the Translator field. In the IFC Translator Setup dialog, select the Data Exchange with Revit Structure Translator from the list at the top, and then expand the Import Options panel. Here you can see the settings that will be used when importing IFC data into ArchiCAD. The Show Model Filter on Import checkbox will result in the Model Filter dialog being brought up during the import process, so you can individually select IFC elements or groups of elements to import or not. This is checked by default in the translator. Select the Data Exchange with Revit Structure Translator and click Duplicate to create a copy of it. Select this Data Exchange with Revit Structure Copy Translator from the list. We do not want to modify the settings of the default translator, so we just modify the settings of a copy of it. Switch to the Import Options panel. Select the A Common New Layer in the Place Imported Elements To field. Unlock the new layer and enter IFC Revit Model for the layer name. The result of this setting will be that all elements coming from this IFC file will be placed on a common layer with the above name, and the layer will not be locked. Leave the material conversion area of the panel as is, and click the Save Settings and Close button to leave the dialog. Select the COL080502 Revit Structural Model.ifc file in the Chapter 8 folder and click the Open button. It takes a few seconds to synchronize the ArchiCAD file with the IFC content, after which the Model Filter for IFC 2x3 dialog will open. At the upper part of the dialog, you can see the list of the model elements which will be merged into the project. You can leave the elements out of the merge process by unchecking the checkboxes before the given item. Below the model elements list, you can find the same filter options that we discussed earlier. We will select only the reinforced concrete columns located in the basement for merging. First, select the Story option from the Group Elements List By drop-down list. The above list will update accordingly. Uncheck all stories except basement. Now expand the basement group and leave only the IFC column checkbox checked. Uncheck all other element types. Click OK to proceed. Within a few seconds, ArchiCAD will convert the IFC content. Activate the 8.5.4 Basement Columns preset view. Right-click on the 8.5.5 IFC Columns preset view in the Navigator, and select Show as Trace Reference in the context menu. The imported IFC columns from Revit Structure are now shown as trace reference below our architectural columns. The view we are using as reference shows only the layer we imported the IFC data to. The structural engineer informed us that all basement columns have been modified to 60 by 40 centimeters. You can use trace reference tools to compare the two versions and see and verify the differences. Starting with ArchiCAD 14, when IFC data is imported into ArchiCAD, the original ArchiCAD elements will not be deleted and replaced by their versions found in the IFC file. Instead, the IFC version will always be imported as separate elements and can be used as reference. Turn the trace reference off. Activate the Column tool and use the Edit, Select All Columns menu command to select all columns in the basement. Type 400 in the Width field in the info box to modify the width of all basement column instances to incorporate the changes. By supporting the IFC standard, GRAPHISOFT ArchiCAD's virtual building technology has reached a point of critical maturity. As an international standard, the IFC model is the definitive open model for the representation and exchange of building model information in the construction industry. For users, this means that they can safely work in ArchiCAD without fear of being isolated from consultants, clients, or any other specialists that might be using other software.